How long gone?
How long gone?
It's Chris Black coming to you live from my favorite recording studio, the J. Crew offices in downtown Manhattan.
It's exciting.
It's one of my favorite. I've got a view. You know, it's much better than my house or any other place I've been lately. How are you feeling, them jeans?
The view is better than the view of anywhere you've been lately. You've been all over the world, bro. Come on.
Yeah, but what's more beautiful than downtown Manhattan on a sunny day? It's
Truly
a tough.
zero.
I mean, it's tough.
Okay. Is this going to be a working podcast, or are we going to be on? Are we going to be online?
Well, I mean, I have to be online to use the Zoom application. So I'm not really sure what you're asking.
I don't mean literally on the network. I don't mean 5G. I mean your mental 5G. You know what I
my
mean?
mental is good.
We're going to have one eye on your notes and one eye on the Gmail.
No. Well, I always have one eye on the Gmail because if one of us doesn't, we could miss something. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Well, I would hate to miss anything.
You love being first to market as it pertains to replying to an email.
Yes, that's one of my defining characteristics. But I'm very happy to be back in New York. It's beautiful. The weather's amazing. It's really prime time.
Happy for
kind
you.
of early spring.
Yeah, this is the time of year where the temperature in LA and the temperature in New York are the same.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right, and I know that makes you very upset.
It's fucking horse shit, is what it is. Also, don't forget to walk over to Jeans and pick up my check. Okay, thanks, sweetheart.
Yeah, they keep being like, "Come." I'm like, I know nightclub. No one's gonna be there till 9 p.m. So like, what?
That's true.
I don't know how it's gonna happen. I know.
It's like when you leave your coat there, and they're like, "Cool, just come here at 11:45 p.m. on a Tuesday."
I was like, "Can't you just mail it to me or something, or like wire the money like a normal human being?" But no, I'll collect it this week. I've got some time. I'm here for at least a week, so I'll be able to go by and take care of business for you.
I'm sorry for talking about this, on the pod. I know our listeners don't want to hear about that. Light accounting. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I guess speaking of podcast accounting, I've been getting a lot of comments or messages from people who want to talk about the irony of ads that are playing on our podcast or another podcast. People will say like, "Oh, there's a boom, blah blah blah. I can't believe you played this ad right after you were talking about this. Sweet hypocrisy going on." And I just wanted to let our listeners know that there's two different kinds of ads on podcasts. There's programmatic, and then there's like host read. So like when Chris and I are doing an ad read for BetterHelp and we're talking about it, that is a podcast ad that we agreed to do and are obviously doing it because you're listening to it. And then programmatic ones are where just a company inserts random ads. It could be for a car company or something, or Dussy brand cognac or whatever. And I just want to let people know that those ads are served to you through an algorithm that's based on the listener and not based on the podcast. So
yes.
if you think an ad that is playing is bad or dumb or funny,
it's your fault.
It is your fault, and it's not necessarily your fault, but it's more so based on how old you are, what part of the world you live in, and what type of hole or pole you're into.
It's cool because I haven't listened to this podcast in 2 years at least, maybe more. So okay. I
gotta check it out. It's getting better.
I don't know, but I know that people are like, "You guys had an ad for Tampa tourism." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I don't give a shit." Once again, any feedback regarding advertising, you can please suck my dick from the back because we are giving you this for free. We've never charged you for this. Would you rather hear funny ads or pay $10 a month? It's up to you. You know what I mean?
So the call is coming from inside the house. I was listening, like our guest today, he's a punk rock kind of legend in the game, and I was listening to an episode of a podcast where he was being interviewed. It was a show where punk rock people appear on it. The singer of a band called Fucked Up is the host, and I'm listening to this podcast in the car, and I get served an ad for the all-new Mercedes-Benz. An ad read.
So sick.
John Hamm. I'm in a Mercedes-Benz driving to Whole Foods. John Hamm is telling me it's time to check out the all-new Mercedes-Benz. And you know damn well that has nothing to do with gutter punks in fucking Saskatoon.
No, it doesn't.
It's
it really doesn't.
It's all me. It's because I'm such a fucking baller.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's all you. It's all you. I I don't listen to podcasts that I don't think I ever get. I don't think Joe Budden doesn't do programmatic, so I don't ever hear any.
He doesn't do any ads. It's just Prize Picks.
It must be nice. Actually, no, it's not nice. I love doing ads. You kidding me? That's like our actual passion. I think we like doing ads more than we like doing the podcast itself.
It's I like we will call it advertorial. Is what we do, Chris.
I wanted to tell you
I blur the lines. Go ahead.
A quick sauna story that kind of left my blood boiling. I was able to I was staying at a hotel in London called the Londoner that had a really nice pool and like steam room and sauna, indoor obviously. And
original name too.
I went there at like 1 p.m. because New York was kind of just waking up, so I had a little time, and I was like, you know what, this is gonna be nice. I'm gonna be peaceful. I'm gonna go to the sauna alone. First of all, I'm in the sauna, and my AirPod falls out and fits through the tiny crack and melts. So the the AirPod literally melted.
You saw the pod melting.
I saw the pod melting. Like I finally found
good name for like a new network. Sorry, go ahead.
I finally found it. But so anyway, I'm at this. There's a pool. It's 1 p.m. on a Tuesday. Okay, so just lay land.
About as off of a time as you could get.
And there was a guy who was, I think, what we would refer to as a chav, where he had Versace boxer briefs as a bathing suit, Versace slides, and tatted up, big, ugly, like Breitling watch on. And he had a, how do I say this? Very, very, very voluptuous friend with him who was too large for her clothing. And her clothing was very minimal to begin with.
Okay, so we're out of the... This is when we're in the actual gym. He did not bring his bird into the locker room, did he?
No, I'm saying I'm in the sauna and they're by the pool, and it's all connected. So like
it's unisex.
It's unisex. It's just me. Okay. It's just me and them. And I was down there for 45 minutes, and these fat pieces of shit went through 2 bottles of champagne at 1 p.m. and were being so loud and like yelling at made up a nickname for the server. We're just berating him. It was all, I couldn't watch it, but I was scared of them because they're so mean and her lips were so fake. And I was like, but I had to walk by them like to get my stuff. You know what I mean? Like to collect my shirt and my et cetera. And I was really worried they were going to try to talk to me. I was like legitimately nervous because I'm like, this guy wants to fight for sure. He'll fight anybody. You know what I mean? So I had to I kept my head down. It was like I was walking by my bullies in high school. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to interact with these drunk like Essex.
Right. That would have been a very kind of Eastern Promises style fight where you and a guy with his dick out are trying to stab each other in the neck with a broken bottle of Moet.
Dude, it was honestly something. I was like, first of all, what is and I asked some British friends like what the equivalent, because it felt like something that would have happened at the right-wing Ritz-Carlton in Palm Desert. You know what I mean? Like it felt like that kind of thing, but they're like, no, it's the same. This guy's also a builder. Like this guy's also a contractor, just like the people. It's the same thing. I was like, okay, that makes sense, because it felt a little more drug dealery. But those two things are kind of interchangeable, I guess.
Did you have a comment or a witty retort in the chamber in case they engaged with you?
I didn't allow myself to take it that far. That's
all I would have been. I would have worked out the entire. I would have 50 pages of dialogue would have been worked out in my head in that sauna watching them go down.
I had so little interest in speaking words to them that even if barked at, I think I might have scurried away. You know what I mean? I think that I might have been finally for once in my life at a loss for words, because this guy would have absolutely knocked my teeth out.
Oh, okay.
And his chick was literally her titties could knock me out. You know what I mean? She was huge.
Okay. So even if it was just her and her twink friend, it still would have been a little bit touch and go. Obviously, you'd be okay, but it would be more of a more trouble than you were bargaining for.
It was more trouble than I was looking to relax. They were looking to turn up. Those two things were at odds, and I have to say they beat me. I left the sauna earlier than I would like to because I could hear them through the door.
I guess all you can do in those situations is just wait for karma to get back to him.
Well, also I think that if I wouldn't have been there, they would have been having intercourse in the pool.
Oh.
I think that was also, I think they were like trying to smoke me out with loud talking and obnoxious laughing to get me out of there so they could do their thing. That's my guess.
Yeah, those situations are the worst. I've been in that when you're at like a bar or something like that, and it's just you and another, you and your cool friend who's kind of a pussy, and then a table of like 4 guys with face tattoos.
Jason, this story of our lives is being out with a friend who's kind of a pussy. That's literally our entire lives. That's our
and
entire.
if you've never been in that situation, you are the pussy friend.
Yeah, that's a defining
And
characteristic of both of our lives.
Both the friend and the pussy friend in this equation many times. But a table of 4, like you said, 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch the Man United game because Dano wants to go, and we're gonna have a beer or whatever. And then these guys have been drinking there since 11 a.m. And the waitress, the server comes over, and they're slapping her in the ass and berating her. And then one of the guys is looking at me, just like, what are you going to do about it? And I'm
You're like, not shit.
And I look at the server. I'm just like, so sorry, lady. This is, like, if anyone does anything, we're getting stabbed. And we just got to, hope that the police come maybe, or hope that, a building falls on them tomorrow, or their kids get taken away from whatever it may be. But
best thing we can hope for.
It's the checkmate. Sometimes you get checkmated, mate.
Sometimes you can get checkmated. Yeah, our guest today is a certified legend. He put San Diego on the map with the Locust. He was in the band Swing Kids, which if you're familiar with, is legendary. He was in Some Girls with friend of the show Wes from American Nightmare. I mean, the list goes on. He has a record label called 31G that put out 5-inch records. I don't know if we're going to get into that. A lot of 5 inches in their catalog. A lot of blast beats on a 5-inch.
Yeah, they've done a lot. They released a lot of kind of electronic music in the electro clashy kind of space when I was first getting into dance music and things like that. I was probably doing more coke than he was, but he put out records for like Adult and Quintron and cool, interesting, Unbroken, of course, Cool Keith, Antioch era. The list goes on. Black Dice, Blood Brothers, Camera Obscura, Cattle Decap. It's all there. So
not cattle decap. Is this the first time cattle decapitation has been mentioned on How Long Gone? No. Or you think it's come up before?
No, I brought it up.
It's come up.
I brought it. Okay. I bring it up quarterly. Okay, let's give him a call.
It's funny. I have a podcast and I insist on it always being in person. So, which is good because then I don't have to do a shitload of podcasts.
We do the exact opposite. We do a shitload of podcasts because we do them remote. That's literally, we do the exact opposite. Yeah. So, Justin, you were saying that you saw The Exploited in San Diego last night. Can you give us a scene report, please?
Well, okay. So it's a little loaded of a situation because they were I had Wadi on my podcast Cult and Culture, so that was like, okay. I mean, I grew up liking The Exploited. Oh God, it's such a loaded question. Well, let me just say this.
Well, if it makes you feel better, Justin, The Exploited is not listening to this podcast right now. Or maybe some of their friends might be, but it's highly unlikely.
Well, okay, so God. Well, I've always liked the Exploited, and I was recently on tour in Europe with my band Def Club, and we played with Unbroken, who were playing this festival, and on the billing it was like Unbroken, The Exploited, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy that you guys are bigger than The Exploited over there. And Rob Moran,
truly,
yeah, and Rob Moran is like, dude, they're so awesome, and blah, blah, and I was like, they're good. I really do like their like kind of like more thrashy metal stuff, and so he was like, so anyhow, they played. We were on tour with we played a few shows with Unbroken, but one of them we didn't play, which was that festival. So we like reconnected with Unbroken, and Rob was like, dude, they were so fucking sick, like, just like hyping them. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I just figured like Waddy had 5 heart attacks, and like they're just he like late,
sure.
late
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
For listeners who don't know, Exploited, legendary kind of UK punk band from like late 70s. So there's a lot of people listening who don't know who they are. Just want to do a little paint the picture for you.
That's
Sorry,
crazy. I feel like everyone should know, like the Beatles, The Exploited. But
I feel like people would recognize the T-shirt and not know it was a band.
Mm-hmm.
You
like
know,
the Misfits.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's very Misfits-esque. It's got some great iconography, Grateful Dead style. Great iconography, great iconography.
I would be so bummed if I was in a band like that.
That had a great logo, and that's kind of it.
That's it. Yeah, like Black Flag.
You've been in the Locust, bro. You've been in the Locust.
That is a good logo, but it's I don't know if we're like up to that level at all. But
I mean, if I see the Locust logo with no words on a butt patch somewhere,
I know
in
what that
Fountain Valley, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah.
yeah,
I know what that is.
It's code. There's the Crass logo and stuff too. Like, yeah, you kind of win the logo lottery if you get to that. But
I feel like punk logos are. Yeah, I feel like the Grateful Dead's the biggest one, like the best example, like the most global example.
Yeah.
But I feel like punk is the following genre that has the most. Like Crass and Black Flag, especially. Like those are very recognizable.
those both are loaded. First, with the Dead, you have like everybody putting the stickers on their car, which they live in. So you're like, oh, okay, and so there's that.
Sure.
And with Black Flag, those guys kind of fucked up because you got all these like Nazi skinheads with bar tattoos on their neck, and you're like, oh, we fucked up, So yeah,
It was a different time back then. There's a little more crossover in terms of the racism.
Yeah.
that was kind of like part of the issue with or not the issue, but like my concern with having Wadi on our podcast. I was like, I don't know, like they associate with Nazis and blah blah blah, but it was different, and we actually talk about it on the episode. So like. It was interesting because for me, like growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, punk and hardcore, it was a fucking different landscape. Like every show you went to, there were Nazi skinheads there. It was just part of the thing. And it wasn't like, yo, you guys are fucking cool. It was just like, fuck, they're here. Well, we have to, mosh or whatever.
Maybe there's going to be a fight. Maybe there's going to be a fight.
There could be a fight.
And there was. But yeah, he like pretty much like laid it out, and it was impressive. I'm gonna say he is a rad guy, and like I really really like him a lot. I like his band, his girlfriend, everyone that was with him. Like they were all fucking cool. The audience, I was a little let down, to be honest, because you wanted the scene report. So I was really let down because I, in my mind, had seen shit like that growing up. So like I wanted it to be like total fucking crazy, like
Yeah.
spikes and mohawks and stage diving and circle pitting. And it was like at one point, okay, DI opened, which I also like DI, but they were terrible. So there was like this really shitty like circle pit happening, and this fucking kid, he probably was like, not that it was like a bad thing that he was young, because I did that, but he was like circle pitting, and he fucking stops to tie his shoe, and everyone's like, whoa, let him tie his shoe. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, this is bad. So it wasn't, and that's not a diss on the bands necessarily. It's just like, who are you guys? Like, it's everyone's so fucking fragile. I was like, just kick his ass and like mosh, or slam dance or whatever.
Let him tie. Stop. He has to tie his shoe.
A guy stopping a circle pit to tie his Doc Martens does feel like a very modern problem. That feels like a very modern problem.
It was insane. I mean, I could pick apart everything. Like, all like his trouser patches were like fresh. You're like, dude, you don't live in those, man. Like, what's going on? Like, like you probably got them dry cleaned or something. I don't know. It was kind of,
I always get my crust pants dry cleaned as well. It helps maintain the aging perfectly. You know what I mean? You want the patches to age, but not too much. Not too much.
Yeah, dry cleaner hates to see him coming. No, not again. You broke the machine last time.
I do have a dry cleaning story, because at one time when the Locust was on tour, we were on tour with the AES, and like this super regiment, like just like crazy schedule, and our uniforms are fucked. Like they smell so bad, and like we were in London, and we had two days in London, so we're like, dude, we have to get these things cleaned. They're so gross. And the only place the only way we could get to like dry clean them was a dry cleaner, not like a laundry place. And so we're just like bringing in these uniforms with masks, and the lady's like, what the fuck is all this? And it like smelled. And then she was just like, what, like on the form, it's like trousers, shirt, whatever. And then she's just like, what is this? Holding up the mask. And we're like, it's a mask. Like,
it's not sexual. It's not sexual. I promise.
And I'm supposed to resemble an insect. What are you talking about, lady?
Yeah, she was like, you guys are fucking weird and gross, but we'll take your business. So
yeah, we're gonna take your business. Yeah, I wonder, because at a certain level of touring, you have the wardrobe, road cases, and everything is kind of sequestered. You go backstage at a Harry Styles show, all the sparkles have been cleaned and they're hanging in the. But when you're in the Locust, it's probably a little different, is what you're saying.
Much different. And it's funny because at one point we were like, oh, we need 2 uniforms so we can like clean them or
Switch out.
alternate.
Yeah,
and someone had stolen Gabe's shirt to one of them. So we were like, well, we have to wear this other one. Otherwise, he's just got no shirt anymore, you know, and like, whatever. Yeah.
Real problems.
Should we start this podcast?
Oh, we're in it, brother.
We started a long time ago, Chief.
So you said that you've been in all these bands, and they're a lot of underground legendary bands. They can be considered harmful to most people's ears, and a lot of people enjoy it. At the peak, you said you were on tour with the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. What other, was that your biggest tour, or was that, I mean, not a solo tour, but like who's the biggest band that you went out on a run with properly?
I did this really fucking stupid thing where I went on tour with the Bloody Beetroots.
Okay, friends of the show, Bloody Beetroots.
Okay, well,
I mean, no, I don't care. I mean, like I go back with Aoki along. I used to DJ with all those guys back in the day, so I have a connection to them, but we're not like friends or anything. So shit talk away. I do it every episode. Don't worry.
Okay, here we go. So I'll say this: like, I was a dick to Bob Rifo, the Bloody Beetroots guy, and I probably shouldn't have, you know. But I was like, man, this is crazy. There's a lot to that. Like, so I wrote a book about it actually, and which probably didn't help. You know, he's probably just like, I'm gonna fucking sue this guy or kill him or whatever. I don't think he killed me. I don't think he's like badass enough, or even try to fight me. But he like pulled some bullshit with me. Like they like wanted to hire like me to go sing on tour with the Bloody Beetroots, and I was like, well, sure, like, yeah, I want to go to Australia. That sounds fucking rad. And they're like, we'll pay you $1,400 for 2 weeks, and I was like, that sounds cool. So I agreed to it. They're like, okay, well, we need you to like they didn't say like this is the material, you know. So in my mind, I'm thinking I'm gonna sing the like Whoop Whoop song, and then I'm gonna sing. They were doing this all leather remix of a band that I was in. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sing those two songs. I got that. I know my own song and I know Whoop Whoop. So and then they're like, but then they're like,
you're working 7 minutes a day. This sounds pretty easy.
Totally. And so that I didn't really, they're like, we need you to be the hype man. I'm like, I have no fucking idea what that is, but I'm totally going to go because Australia's rad and I want to go, do something fun and get paid $1,400. And so,
sure.
Like I kept saying like, what songs or like, what material do I need to know? They're like, bro, you need to have like Converse, torn up pants and like, you know, Clash t-shirts. And I'm like, what? Like, what songs do I need to learn? I mean, I don't have any of that shit. Like my pants, I'm fucking desperately trying to not let them get torn up. At the time I only wore Vans, you know, and I was like, I don't have any like punk shirts. I was like, I have a Carcass shirt, and then I just have a bunch of shit like that doesn't say like, I don't know what the Casualties or whatever, you know. And I was like, maybe I'm not the right guy for this. And then
gotta drive like Jehu hoodie. Extra medium. How's that going to work?
He's just like, what's that? You know. So yeah, I went on tour with them. It's like fucking crazy because we were like in fucking private jets and shit, and like playing to like 17,000 people a night, which is I think the most. Well, I think Dead Cross ended up playing a couple festivals that were bigger, but these were like this tour was only festivals, you know. And then like one night they're like, we're gonna add a secret show in Sydney at this it's like 4,000 people, and I'm like, a secret show is probably gonna land like 40 people for me. I was like, all right,
sure.
And they're like, and then I overheard the promoter like, okay, you're gonna get $40,000 for the secret show, or 20, it was $20,000 for the secret show. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm getting paid $1,400 for this whole thing, you know, and like they're, you know, and no offense, but those guys are just like using CDJs and pushing play and stop and shit. And I have to go out there and sing, and like they want me to stage dive. And like at one point someone took my fucking shoe off, and I'm like, dude, I have no more shoes. Like I only have two. And I'm like fighting someone in this crowd trying to get my fucking slip-on van back. You know, it's
damn, bro.
Shoes work better in Paris. Okay, so you
That's
got
tough.
Exploited, not to bring a band back, but you were exploited by the Bloody Beetroots, and I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you learned some things on that tour.
I learned a lot. Like, yeah, it was crazy. I learned that I could chuck wireless microphones into the crowd and bail, and that's so fucking fun because like I don't give a shit what happens because it's not my band.
That
cool.
Was fun. That's a very cool takeaway.
It feels crazy to just be like, and then like I'm out, I'm off, I'm fucking gonna leave and get some assholes, you know, to drive me back to the fucking hotel. I'm done.
So like 50 Cent, you can whip a cordless mic at someone's head in the crowd and say, all right, I'm gonna grab some hummus on the way out and I'll be in the hotel.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Okay, well, how? Because it seems like around when the Locust was late 90s, early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, or whatever. That was when personally I went from like hardcore into electronic music with
Mm.
like adult and other electro clash bands that you're obviously familiar with. I would go to like electro clash nights in Long Beach at this place, the Red Room, I think. And it was just like 40 people doing coke on a Monday and listening to electro clash, and it was sick. But around what time did you start getting more into the EDM zone or the just electronic music zone?
It was already kind of like there. I mean, I grew up like obsessing over 6 Sputnik and Yellow and bands that were like synth heavy adjacent, like like not punk like Devo, but like whatever I don't know what you want to call 6 Sputnik. And that was like a huge part of the Locust, but I don't think that we ever were like EDM. Obviously, we had like real instruments and a drummer and shit. And so like, so really what happened was I got a job at this gay club, and that propelled me into like learning like hearing the same shit every night and be like, well, this song is decent, or like this hook is cool, or what. And so then I started like getting into certain kinds of EDM, and then I started a band called All Leather, which was really bad, but we tried to be like we tried to be EDM with instruments, and and you can do that if you're rich, and if you're poor you can't, and we learned that really quick. So
yeah, that's tough.
It costs a lot of money to play electronic music with a full band.
Yeah, because one, we had a guitar, electronic drum set, which was the biggest, like the lowest tiered piece of shit, and then we would play like punk shows that had like vocal only PA. So we're just like, oh, this sucks. Like no one hears the drums, So there was a lot of problems in that one.
Well, you learn the hard way. I like that. You don't seem like a guy who takes the easy road.
I mean, we learn from our mistakes, and now I know, hey, if I'm gonna do electronic music, like I'm in this band Planet B, and like we know, like don't play, the Che Cafe or wherever, like no offense to the Che, but like play someone that's got a killer PA with subs, and you'll be fine. So yeah,
I just don't. When's the last time you had like a job?
Oh, I have one every day.
A job where you're not the boss.
That's a loaded question. Well, when I was at the bar that I worked at, the gay bar, and so let me just plug my book, GG Alien and the Mystery Meat, that just came out, which is about that job, which is fucking insane, and there's crazy photos in it, and I'm probably gonna get either sued or killed from that book.
Okay.
Because there's all this there's a lot of Nazi shit in it. But anyhow, I worked at this bar until I turned 40, and like right before I turned 40, I was like, man, and not that I'm better than this, but I was like, I cannot clean up a 21-year-old's vomit anymore. Like this is just insane. No one's ever cleaned up my vomit except my mom when I was a child, and I'm like, I just think like I'm turning fucking 40, no more vomit cleaning up unless it's mine, or my dog or whatever. So like
nice.
Good boundary to set.
Yeah. And I just like hustled, and I've been hustling for the last 9 years. So I'm also a publicist, music publicist for myself, but I do it for other artists as well, and that is the one thing that kind of pays some of the bills, and and then I'm like on EBT and shit like that. So it all kind of like I like live some lifestyle.
I'm honestly kind of surprised to hear that. I forget that. I just felt like you'd done so much that there'd be some weird source of income from over the years that keeps coming. You know what I mean? Like something strange, like, oh, somebody sampled this, and I get a check every year for X amount of money.
I wish there was like a band that would sample us or me or something, and then I could sue them. That'd be so rad, but that hasn't happened yet. You win the lottery.
Are you a litigious person?
I don't know.
Have you sued people before?
Well, I mean, so I did, but okay, there's two things there. So yeah, I sued a mechanic who fucked up our van once, and we lost.
Okay.
And then I also sued
that sucks.
I sued a mechanic who painted my old car, and that guy fucking bailed, and it was crazy. He like wouldn't pay me, and then I got like a person, I don't know what they're called, a person to like go get my money, and so I hired this guy to like not go get it like a thug, but like a legal
mercenary.
Yeah.
A mercenary.
Like a repo man for your money.
No. No, it's like illegal. Like I don't know what they're called. Like
A bounty hunter. Dog. You got Dog the bounty
I
hunter.
fucking should have done that, but I didn't. I went like the normal like human route, you know. Where you're just like or normal guy,
First mistake.
respectable.
First mistake.
Yeah. So anyhow, I was like, hey, he'll go get your money legally. He takes 5%. Cool. And that fucking guy died. And then they're just like the whole system's like, we don't know how to like assess this. And I'm like, God damn it, this fucking guy shit on my car, like not literally, but like he fucked my car up painting it. It's like a paint shop,
Right.
So like, yeah, so I sued that guy. And then at one point someone had bootlegged the Locust record. So someone put out this garbage thing and called it the Locust and used our logo and like it wasn't our band. It was like a fake thing and it was just total dog shit. It wasn't even music. Well, that's a lot of people say that about the regular Locust, but this was literally not like, it was just someone trying to fuck with us.
Okay. So they like pressed records with a bunch of bullshit noise on it, put your logo on it, and sold it under the guise that it was a Locust record.
Yeah, and people were like buying it for like $50 a 7-inch on eBay, and it was kind of crazy. But then like the thing that was really bad was it got reviewed in Thrasher, and Thrasher was like, "What the fuck is up with the Locust thing? And they could put out shit like this. This is so offensive. Like fuck that band." And I was like, "God damn it!" So somehow I found out like. I don't know the people who did it, and they're from Arizona, and I fucking think that state sucks partially because of that. But I was like, man, fuck these guys. This is just like a dickhead move. Like at least like let yourself be known. So anyhow, at one point I got one of the people's phone numbers, and I was like, yo, you're not gonna like stop this, like it just sucks that you're making probably more money than the actual band, and like your prank is kind of like a dickhead move. Like it'd be cool to bootleg, I don't know, like Taylor Swift record or whatever, something that like it's not like I'm like you're like kind of fucking with like four normal poor like musician punk people or whatever, but whatever. So I got the guy's number and I was like, okay, so I have an idea, like you guys want to go on Judge Judy and we'll sue you, and like it'll be like a bigger like PR stunt and so we were trying to like navigate that and it didn't work out, but and then they just bailed and eventually they quit selling the record, which is cool, but I think they probably made a grip off of this really bad record. And
now it's probably become a collector's item.
Yeah, I really wish there was some way to say like, hey, that's not us. Like, I mean, I've said it, but I wish there was like a way to like if you go to like probably Discogs, it's probably on there as like a regular ass record of ours, and it's just such a bummer.
Yeah, I bet you have a pretty valuable record collection at least if you needed to unload. I'm sure you got some wild shit.
Yeah, you mean like my retirement?
Yeah, because my friend, a friend of mine showed me his Discogs like value, and I was like, bro, you have $750,000 worth of records, and it's shit that I'm like, no one knows what this is. Like, this is the most obscure garbage.
Yeah,
just, I mean, some of it's not, but a majority of it. As a person who's,
I say that about my own records, yeah.
But he'll be like, oh, well, this one, and I'll be like, bro, what is this one? No one knows what this is. Like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Oh, all you need is one other person to know what it is who has a disposable income. Well, I mean, I guess you said your retirement fund. Are you treating it like an actual investment like that? And because of that, are you thinking that now could be the best time to unload this collection, or are you going to wait it out? Because, vinyl is, it's peaking right now, but it could also, just like Tesla, take a shit in a year, and then, you know what I mean? So where's your head at with your retirement fund?
All those flexi discs aren't going to put your kids through college if the shit flops. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't have any kids, but I don't know what I think.
Four-legged friends.
My collection is interesting. I don't know. It's like the housing market. Like, should I sell now or should I wait? And maybe they'll gentrify punk even more, and then I should sell. But like, but then I don't know. Yeah, I trip out because I'm an archivist, so like I have like one of everything I've been on, except there's one record that's missing that I was on. But for the most part, I have like tons of test pressings and just like kind of gnarly shit that I could probably like, I could probably like unload. And then just my regular collection, because I'll go to record stores and see stuff on the wall. I'm like, that thing's $200. I have that, like I don't even.
What would you say of it, what is the genre split in the collection? We don't need to get into the 1%, but what would we say, like, if we had to split it into thirds, is it genres I've at least heard of?
I mean, most of it's unlistenable. I mean, it's
okay. Like, that's what I thought. That's why I was out. That was
or like, I mean, I've spent most of my career like trying to like like be genre adjacent but not genre specific. Like a good example is like the Locust. Like there was like all this bullshit where like the Locust is a grindcore. It's like, yeah, we're not. Like who fucking, like, we're not saying that. Like, but what is it? I don't know. And I think that's good. For me at least. I don't want to be like, that's the thing, you know.
Yeah, I
Speak
agree.
for yourself. I do. I want to be the thing. I want to be right down the goddamn middle.
Yeah.
And in your mind, Justin, you're like, if we're grindcore, then how come every show people call us fags? You know, what is up with that? How do you explain that, guys?
That's a good point. I mean, I bet that happens to real grindcore bands too, though. You know, that are like legit.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the realest grindcore band? Like who is the defining grindcore band?
Whose core is ground the most?
Let's ask someone who's in a grindcore band. I don't know. Like I'm think
asking
like
you because you're an underground music expert. That's why I'm asking you. You're
I'm
very
also,
well
like,
versed.
not very knowledgeable on the ins and outs of grindcore. Also, I know when you talk about like this is the most blah 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 grindcore band, there's gonna be like 30 people being like, that guy's a fucking loser. Fuck that guy. He doesn't know shit. And I'm like,
That's
you're right. I don't.
That's right. It's all opinion. It's all an opinion.
I just looked on Reddit. r/grindcore discordance axis.
Oh, I love that band.
Okay.
They're like the best. Yeah, they are the best. Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Dave Whitty.
So that's the one.
We cleared that up. Thank
Easy
you.
peasy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Pig Destroyer,
Sure.
we go back, Cattle Decapitation, who you know as well. Actually, I was listening to a podcast and you were talking about going to a Converge show and being surprised at what the crowd looked like versus what you suspected or expected. And Chris and I are a couple of big Converge fans from back in the day, but you said you were going there expecting it to be a little bit of a bro, moshcore, kind of hate-breedy, throwdown, bad vibe kind of situation, but it was actually a very
so cool.
inclusive.
Converge is pitchfork music at this point. Like that's who I imagine being there. Like 42-year-old graphic designers with a Mercedes station wagon. That's literally what I feel.
I love those guys and I like their music a lot. So what their audience is like isn't necessarily their fault, but I was so impressed and I was like, this is fucking cool. Like that band navigated into modern times correctly, and I was like, this is great.
Well, but those I feel like they get lumped in. I feel like they become kind of like RIP, but like Ozfest acts. You know what I mean? Where it becomes, because it's like metal is how people actually classify it. So it becomes like the audience changes based on that as you get older and bigger, I guess, more successful.
Yeah, I saw this last night at the Exploited concert. There was an obituary poster for a show, and it was like Nails was one of the bands, and there was like another band, and I was like, they just have like hardcore bands opening for them. It's so weird, hardcore metal-ish or whatever. But like, I don't know. Like I remember just growing up and like, if you didn't have long hair and if you didn't look metal, you were just a fucking, whatever, a poser or a pussy or whatever. I remember going to Slayer concerts and getting beat up because I looked like a punk, So I just wonder like if it's shifted. You either have to look like a metalhead or a neo-Nazi, and both of those are not the look I want to go for. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being in high school and then seeing like hardcore bros, show up to school one day with like a Cannibal Corpse long sleeve with like a baby being ripped apart and blood everywhere. And that was when it first started to be like, it's a competition to see who's the most fucked up, twisted, gnarly bro of all time. Even though I listen to Mineral and Grill Biscuits every day, I'm going to wear this Obituary shirt or Cannibal Corpse shirt just to get that shock factor.
See, that is something I'm so glad. I hate all that shit. I hate it. I'm so glad that when that fork in the road came, I was like, all right, if we got Texas the Reason and Sunday Real Say over here, I'm going right. You guys can go into this ugly shit.
I rode the wave, bro.
It's too ugly. Cannibal Corpse is the ugliest shit. I hate the way it looks. Like, I hate the way metal stuff looks.
But what about, try this instead. A vulgar display of power shirt. The guy, the punch.
Look, there's some classic graphics. I'm speaking... I mean, I think like death metal graphics are actually the classic ones. I think the stuff you guys are talking about is some of the ugliest graphic design ever applied to the genre of like to music.
Well, we want squares like you to think that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to agree though, because for one, there's like the logo you can't read. Two, there's like usually it's like a giant print with like every color you could possibly print on it. And I'm just like, I don't know, just give me a fucking regular t-shirt with one color on it. That shit's classic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I agree. But I think you're right, Jason. There is a shock factor to wearing that stuff that was very appealing when you're 15.
But now, like you were saying, the logo that you can't read, I think we've really jumped the shark with those types, you know, black metal, grindcore,
Yeah,
those bands.
Yeah,
where
it's Balenciaga at this
point.
Where
the logo is just so like nobody in the world could ever read it, and the whole point of it is somebody walks past you with that shirt on and you're like, oh fuck, that guy listens to damn, they're fucking gnarly. I bow down to you, bro.
I can't pronounce Norwegian, but this shit is sick.
Speaking of Nazi stuff, what do you think about what Kanye West is up to nowadays?
Yeah, I think for one, he's selling a t-shirt. Well, tried to sell the shit. I was like, that is like the lamest marketing bullshit. Like, at least say something, like put a logo or a Kanye signature or something. I'm like, you're doing like you're selling the shirt by like all the dudes that beat me up when I was in my teens. Like, that's just some fucking poser shit.
Yeah.
But that's also like capitalism, you know. It's like, oh, you're just gonna take the thing and sell it. Okay, so there's that, but then there's the fact that he's just a fucking dipshit, and like, I don't give a fuck if he's autistic, like selling shit like that. He's just an asshole, dude. Like, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
I was really on the before this. I believe this to be true about a lot of people in his position, that they could fuck up to a point, and if they come back with a hit, everyone forgets it. But he finally,
like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, but he finally crossed the line. Like, he finally is like, all right, bro, we're done. Like,
we'll see. I don't know. There's still a chance.
If Gold Digger came out today, I think like 15-year-olds would like it, but I don't think he would be embraced in like a big way, the way that he would have been otherwise.
15-year-olds are all you need. I mean, I was talking about this on the last episode about how Chris Brown, you know, a lot of people hated him because he beat up Rihanna, and, you know, he was sort of canceled. And now young people are so young that they either forgot or never knew that happened, and they just like his music and dancing, and they're just like, yeah, I guess that happened in
it's been long enough
in the history books, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Or I mean, I'm sure that'll happen with R. Kelly and Michael Jackson and everyone else who's done all this bad
jam
stuff.
I hear Michael Jackson at restaurants now. It's all good.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. Okay, there's two things. Like, one is I feel like there's the like domestic violence tip, which is just fucking bullshit. But then there's like the Kanye, like, I'm gonna flirt with, you know, neo-Nazi bullshit. Like, that's kind of weird because, like, I don't know. Like, last night I saw some asshole with the Pantera shirt. I'm like, yo, dude, the guy did like say white power, and like he, you know, like, I don't know if he's like a Nazi.
Yeah.
But then like, and then you just see like every asshole driving a Tesla now, and you're like, hey, you fucked up and bought the Nazi or the swastika or whatever. And so I think that like people that support it may fuck up, but there's also like, you can kind of, some things you can come back from, like, again, going back to Waddy from the Exploited. He's like, I grew up, you know, in the 70s and 80s, and like the swastika wasn't what it represents now, you know. And he was like, I grew up with like Sid and Susie, like having that shit, and you know, and like Susie's Jewish, and so it's like, he was just like, it's different. But people are like still ready to be like, yo, you know, the guy from the Exploited's a Nazi, and he's like, I'm not. He's like, I fought Nazis my whole life. So I think there's like a little bit of leeway where you're like, that guy's like on the right path, or then you're just like, you know, Elon Musk is like clearly not on any right path. He's just a fucking turd, you know, and or like, you know, and Kanye can have a comeback when like Elon's like, yo, I'm gonna just hire that guy and we'll put you on Mars and you can be really popular there, you know, and he'll be successful again, you know. So
that's a good point. If he goes alien mode, he could be accepted. That's a good point.
Like, aliens are gonna be like, we don't care that he did that. Like, you guys care about like anti-Semites? Like, we don't even know what that means. There is no God, you know. And then aliens are like, it doesn't matter.
So did you give your Tesla back? Did you burn it? What did you do with yours?
He's Turoing it right now while he's figuring it out.
Yeah, you're making some money off it. You're smart. You're making money off of it, I'm sure.
I did hear that if you buy those, you're not the truck ones, you know, you like weren't allowed to sell it for like a certain amount of years. Like, there was like a contract because
really?
like, yeah, I don't know. I would love to, like, I should probably look into it before I say stupid shit like this, but I was told that if you buy one, you're not allowed to sell it I don't know why. Like
I believe it. Elon makes you promise because it'll fuck up the value of it.
something like
Yeah,
that.
it's like art. It's like when art hits auction. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I would have like thought it would be pretty.
It is art.
He's like, no one can sell these, and like as soon as they all sell, he's like, all right, I'm a fucking Nazi. Good luck, you know. And like that would have been kind of more amusing to me.
He's tanking his own market. I mean, Trump is doing that right now with our stock market, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other pod. I guess speaking of all this stuff going on in the world, we had a friend of ours, this guy Josh Citarella, on our pod a couple months ago, and he interviews a lot of young people who are like in emerging dark spaces, eco-terrorism, anarcho-terrorists, and all that stuff. What do you think your relationship with that is? Obviously, you know, growing up in the 90s, there's all that, you know, food not bombs and burning down the fur factories and protesting, all that stuff. And it kind of went down and went away. And it seems like, you know, 14, 15-year-old kids are kind of bringing that lifestyle back. How do you feel about it?
I grew up with all that. I totally support all of that stuff. Like I think eco-terrorism, as they call it, which I would just call environmentalism or just being smart, is fucking rad. But I worked with Food Not Bombs or even like Earth First. I mean, I've associated with some fucking crazy people, like this dude that would like go out and sit and blow up whaling ships, and I was like, that's really righteous shit, you know? Like,
hold on. So when you meet a guy like that,
yeah, okay, that's a whole other podcast.
no, but the whole point of
There's another book there, bro.
why on earth would he tell you that? I thought that's the whole thing.
He was on the inside.
Still,
his job was a private investigator. So me and Jose Palafox from my first band Struggle met him at our high school because he was investigating a student there. And so we became friends with him because I think he kind of like picked up on our shit because we were working with the Revolutionary Communist Youth Brigade. So he was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You're doing all this
Sure.
like gnarly shit.
yeah,
And so we're
yeah,
like,
he could
what?
sniff that out. He could sniff that out.
Completely. And so motherfucker Jose invites the guy to our rehearsal. And it was crazy because he came to our rehearsal at Dylan, our mom's house in a basement, and he brought this huge file of like UFO shit,
Hell
like
yeah.
crazy shit. He bought an Uzi just to show us, because I told Jose, I was like, this guy's fucking full of shit. And so Jose's like, watch, I'll tell him to bring in, you know, shit. And then we start jamming or playing, and the motherfucker puts all these like suction cup wire things to this gadget and like lays on the floor and like it's like doing something, I don't know. And we're just like, what the fuck? So we kind of were just like into this dude being like a weirdo. And then he was older than us and he had money. So a couple times he's like, yeah, I'll drive you guys up to Santa Barbara for your show. And like, we're like, okay, cool. So we're cruising up to Santa Barbara and he's got this sick BMW and we're all like poor, you know, and 15. And so we're cruising up to Santa Barbara and we get pulled over. And we're like, oh shit, we're getting pulled over because you were going 95. Like, that's kind of crazy. And keep in mind, he's like, I don't know what his age was, an adult. He's definitely an adult man. And he's got like 3 or 4 fucking underage, you know, dudes in the car, like from the band. And so he pulls us over. He's like, we might have a problem. We're like, what do you mean? He's like, I got a bazooka or a missile launcher in the trunk. And we're like, what? So we're like, we're all sitting in the car being like,
I thought that was
"Holy
my bass cabinet. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's a bazooka? What?
Yeah, so he gets out of the car and he gets out of the car to like go talk to the cop. We're like, dude, he's gonna shoot you. Like that, you don't go talk to the cop. So he's back there for like quite a while, and then he comes back, he's like, all good, and then starts driving. And we're all just like, we're all like white, you know, just like fucking ghostly, like, oh my God. So and then finally we're like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, it's cool. Like I think, you know, we worked it out or whatever. And so when we got to the venue in Santa Barbara, I was like, I gotta see this thing. I feel like you're lying to me.
He's like, don't open that Rickenbacker case, guys.
He
Do not
opens the
open
trunk.
Rickenbacker.
He opened the trunk and there was a fucking missile launcher in there. And I was like, holy shit. And like, that's that, you know? So, but he also he had like this, at one point he showed us this thing he had. It was like this, it looked like a really small satellite dish and you like hold it and he would go up on this mountain that was like, we went to high school in this area called Pacific Beach and there's this like mountain. So he'd go up on this mountain and you could point it into people's houses and like hear everything. It was so crazy. So like, he wasn't fucking around. But anyhow, at one point he was like, yeah, I gotta go away for a while. I'm gonna go blow up these ships or fucking, he was like outsourced or something like, he was like outsourced from Greenpeace, actually. I guess this is what his story was. Like Greenpeace couldn't be like, we're gonna go blow up the ship. They're like, we're gonna pay this guy and he's gonna
Sure,
go
they
blow
have
up
to
these
hire
fucking whaling
a
ships.
contractor. I love that. I wonder if I knew. Jason, do you know any freelancers that would blow up a whaling ship? I don't really know. Can you send me a
They're
W9?
all tattoo artists now. They're out of the game.
There's a freelancer for everything.
No, there is a freelancer for everything. That's a great story. I mean, I feel like touring when you're that age is pretty weird. I feel like there's really too much to be seen out there.
You may have been a little too young. Yeah, I guess, back in those days, you've been all over the world, played in the best and worst venues and cities. For your style of music, what you're doing, what's the worst city to play in?
Let's say U.S. because Eastern Europe is probably big for you guys.
I mean, there's always like worse cities everywhere. It depends on like how negative the audience will be towards you, because like those will be my answers. Like it's either like getting violently beaten up or like robbed, and so that would be Phoenix or St. Louis. Those are the
Aren't you from Phoenix?
Yeah, fuck that whole city's a piece
So hold
of
on,
shit.
you're saying to me that all the places in the world that are the worst, Phoenix and St. Louis.
Those are where my worst experiences have happened. Yeah.
And it's funny because we asked that question a lot to bands on the show, and they're either like, oh, I don't want to say because I don't want to offend any towns that I'm going to be in.
I'll offend them. I don't give a fuck.
But you're like, well, on the metric of these are the towns that I get beat up and robbed in the most, I'll have to say Phoenix.
You can kind of say whatever you want when those are the reasons. I think.
Yeah. There was this weird stint that the Locust had, which
Phoenix
was like,
is an awful place, I will say.
yeah. So the Carolinas into like Florida, Atlanta ish, all that whole like area. We had a weird problem where there was like this straight edge gang following the Locust and like fucking our shit up.
Hold on, I might have been in that gang. What was it called? Do you know?
I don't remember what that one was called.
I got to be careful. I don't.
Well, there was the Monster Crew. There was that one, but I think that was a different one. Those guys, those guys, I tried to blow up with dynamite, but that didn't. I didn't really want to blow them up with dynamite. I just wanted to threaten them with dynamite, and
I wonder which guys, because that's who I went to high school with. So Chris and I are from competing straight edge gangs. We were never.
I'm from Atlanta.
Okay.
He's from Atlanta. I'm from Huntington Beach. So
You guys played a lot of shows in Atlanta, though. I feel like I saw the Locust a lot in Atlanta.
yeah, Atlanta was fucked up. One time, Under the Couch.
That's the best. Yeah, the classic.
Yeah.
It was on the Georgia Tech campus.
Yep. Someone smashed an entire watermelon on my head, and I was like, dude, it hurt so bad. It was like those things, it had some fucking. It was like
That wasn't me. I didn't go Gallagher mode that night.
Yeah.
That was not
I've
me.
broken a windshield with a watermelon. They can do some damage.
They could have broke my skull. It fucking hurt so bad, and I was like, and then they scatter and like everyone's like laughing. I'm like, dude, just. Like, if I'm going to be a fuckhead to you, like, I'm going to be like, hey, that was me. Like, let's do this, And I was like, you're just a chicken shit.
Right.
That's my biggest problem is people being fucking chicken shits. At least, like, own up to it. And if you're a badass and you can fucking kick my ass, just be like, yo, I threw the watermelon and bashed it on your head. Like,
Have you, just based on have you won fights before?
One is an interesting way of putting it.
You mean not died?
Not die.
I mean, I'm saying because it sounds like you've been assaulted several times based on just kind of who you are.
Yeah.
But you also strike me as a kind of slippery little guy who could kind of hold his own.
Scrappy.
I can, but the thing that like is like a blessing and a curse is my wit. So like usually I'll get my ass handed to me, and as I'm getting it, and I'm still like, yo, oh, you're a Nazi and your name is Joe, but I know you're really Jose. And I'm like, you can keep kicking my ass, but joke's on you, fucking dipshit, and so then at the end of the day, like, yeah, I won, even though I'm bleeding and my, I'm fucking got a broken rib or whatever, like.
Sure. So when's the last time you got in a fight? When's the last time you had a full on? Because you're how old are you? 45, 40?
49.
Okay,
yeah,
so you look great, by the way. I want to say you look amazing.
Thanks.
You really do.
I'm sure you've got
Thanks.
I'm sure you got some bad tattoos. We all do, but otherwise you look amazing.
Unless there's a blur on Zoom right now, you look 32 straight
Yeah,
up.
you look
Thanks.
No
amazing.
hyperbole.
Thanks.
Hey, you're not you drink and stuff too, right?
No, I mean, I don't not drink, but I don't really drink. Yeah. I've been pretty like good about avoiding like, hey, I'm going to fuck my body up, and like, yeah,
Do you exercise? Do you have a skincare routine, or is this just God?
I do yoga 7 days a week, so there's that.
Okay, namaste, bitch. You got the balance. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
That's
All
an
right.
interesting.
but-
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, you do yoga 7 days a week, but you don't feel too great about the world of Krishna, do you?
I fucking hate that shit, man. Like, yeah. That I have a like that, we grew up with like it's like Shelter, like, oh my God, Ray, what are you doing, dude? You're fucking up, man.
Hey,
Like,
look,
so that
we've all made mistakes.
We had Ray on this pod about a year ago.
Yeah.
It was funny. But so when you say Shelter is fucking up, do you mean like the music is bad?
yeah.
I do. Shelter, I will say, I know it's cribbed from their, sort of pseudo-religious practices, but great iconography, like we were talking about earlier. The records looked really cool. 108 and Shelter, nothing looked like that. You know what I mean? So it was like, it looked crazy, but the music did suck.
I don't remember if it sucked, but I just remember being like, God, this is fucking bad, man. Like, you guys think cows are cooler than women? Like, that's fucking weird, man. Like, like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem very punk to be like, we're gonna rank, living beings by like men, cows, women.
That is confusing. You make a good point.
In
That
the
is
same
confusing.
way that you'll see a documentary about like the guy who started Bikram yoga.
That guy's a fucking turd. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's predators everywhere.
Right,
but then
right,
you like
right.
go like, well, what do you like, punk? Do you like fucking the first Screwdriver record or whatever? It's like, oh man, like yeah, there's gonna be a shithead in everything.
Of course.
Yeah, and I think like people have co-opted yoga, and I know to like go to instructors that are like my two favorite instructors. One's like heavily into martial arts stuff, and the other one's a mortician. And I'm like, those two fucking people rule, and they have like a really strange take on the practice, and I get a lot out of it.
I was going to take you I thought you might be a weird distance runner is where I was going to go. I thought you might have been like a marathon guy, low key.
One of my bandmates in Planet B is, and it's funny because he's crazy because he drinks every day, and he does cocaine all the time, and then he like will go running fucking like 15 miles a day, and I'm like, how the hell? Like, it's so crazy how that guy works.
That's what we call an operator.
How old is this person?
I think he's like 47 or 48. Yeah, he's like,
That's
right,
crazy.
yeah.
What does he do? What does he do for a living?
He runs a recording studio, and
oh, well, that's fine. Then that's what he's supposed to be doing.
he also does flooring. Yeah, but he'll be like, hey, like when the pandemic happened, he's like, okay, like I got something to tell you, and I was like, oh shit, like what happened? And he's like, I have COVID, and you were at the studio yesterday, and I just want to let you know that I tested positive for COVID. But he's like, but I feel fucking great. I just ran 13 miles and fucking did all this blow and shit. I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, what the fuck?
The real medicine, the real ivermectin.
He didn't like ever feel it, and I never, I didn't get it. So I was like, oh, that's crazy shit.
So what did you do? What did you do during COVID? Did you make a bunch of music?
I did, yeah. Him and I made a bunch. I went up to LA and we made a Def Club Records 2 or something, and yeah, I just like hustled. We worked on the Satanic Planet record. That was crazy too. It's like we're in like a pandemic and we're like working on this Satanic Planet thing, which is this weird project that I have. And then we're like, hey, let's see if Dave Lombardo would play on one of the songs. And then Dave's like, I don't have anything else to do. I'll just join the band. We're like, oh, that's cool. Okay, let's just get that guy in the fucking Satanic band.
So how many bands are we in currently?
2.5.
2.5. Half meaning one is not active but not deceased. Is that where the half comes from?
No, it's like my normal real bands are Def Club and Planet B, and then for me the half is Satanic Planet, which is basically Planet B plus Lucian Greaves.
Yeah.
But that band doesn't really play because of a lot of reasons. Everyone's spread out, and because like people like legitimately want to kill Lucian, and like it's like, do we need to wear bulletproof vests when we play and shit? Like, it's pretty gnarly because they try to blow him up and stuff. Like, yeah. So
the amount of explosions and explosive devices in your life is alarming, I would say.
Yeah, it has a real Beavis energy to it.
Yeah, it does. Yes, it does.
Have you noticed that like it's been long enough to where kids are like really into the Locust now, and you're getting offers to do reunion tours?
Are you not
and
doing?
things
Yeah,
like
are you
that?
not cashing out like the rest of these? Like if Orchid and Seisha can sell it out, I'm sure you can.
this is a crazy topic. Okay, so one, Gabe Serbian, our drummer, passed away, so we're not gonna do that ever.
Okay.
So that but we were active up until like right after the pandemic. But like when he passed away, like we actually had stuff booked like on the books to do. So like the cashing out thing's weird because I like, for one, I'm like, no offense to anybody, but I'm like, how did that happen? Like, because I'll just say like
No, Justin, it's shocking. It's shocking. I wrote about this last, but I saw like people it's crazy. Like people wearing a Seisha hoodie on like the F train going to Whole Foods in 2025 is crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I mean, those guys are cool. They played with the Locust and stuff, and I just can't. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, okay, so for instance, like I have a problem Okay, I'll just be like totally transparent here. Swing Kids are playing a show at the end of this month, and it's really strange to me for two reasons. One, our guitar player passed away, and we did play after he passed away as part of this like release of this book, this like reunion thing with Unbroken, who he was our guitar
Yeah.
player. Eric was in both bands, so it made sense. And like that music, because of Eric and the members in the band, means like it holds a place in my heart. And like the band, you know, right before we like officially broke up, back when we were a real band, we got a second guitar player. So when we play, it's not like totally bizarre ish because it's like real members.
Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah.
I also am completely aware that like where like I will criticize that band, I will say that the weak link in that band is me. And I did not know how to sing, I did not know how to write lyrics, and I don't think what I contribute to that band is good. I think that Eric's songwriting, his guitar playing is fucking sick, but I also know that he completely was ripping off John Reese. So like there's a lot of like layers to that. And so like
Yeah.
our bass player John was like, "Hey, you guys want to play this show? It's for my 50th birthday. I'm doing this like festival thing." And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, Jose's not going to do it. So I'm going to be like, I'm going to say, yeah. So I'm not the bad guy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll totally fucking do that. That'll be cool. And then Jose said yes. And I'm like, motherfucker, now I have to play this show, you know?
Who else is playing this show?
Oh, it's not even a big deal. It's just like, it's like modern, normal punk bands in San Diego and Tijuana.
It's Swing Kids and then a bunch of smaller
Okay.
bands opening.
Yeah.
kind of
But
thing.
Swing Kids might even be a bigger. I feel like that could even be in my mind, that might be a bigger check than the Locust, depending on who you're talking to.
There's like two people that are like, I'm flying in. I'm like, you're fucking
Yeah.
gonna be bummed, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
everyone,
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
mean, the show hasn't even sold out. It's at the Casbah, 230 capacity, like hasn't sold out. No one gives a fuck. We're not Seisha or Orchid.
So are you looking forward to playing?
No,
Sounds like medium.
we rehearsed a couple weekends ago for 2 days, and the first day I was like, this is fucking terrible. We should back out right now. And then the second day I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, you guys are funny, and I love you, and this is cool to like be with you guys.
How many Swing Kids songs exist?
11.
Okay. That's what I was. Okay, so you're going to play 10 or all 11? Just all
I
11.
think there's 12. There's one song we're not going to play because like we don't, unless we have to play like, unless they're like, you guys have to play, you're doing this festival, we're paying you a normal amount of money for your reunion bullshit. I don't know what reunion bands get, 50 grand maybe, I don't know, 200,000.
Did you make merch?
I have LPs. I mean, I run the
No,
record.
you need to make t-shirts right now. Do not fuck this up, bro. I'm telling
Well,
you.
I know what you mean because like the something about the doing the reunion thing, to me it always felt it felt kind of sad, or like it's for the people who are still stuck in the past, and then when you see the young kids who are into it come to the show, it's not going to be the same that it was back in the day.
It's not.
It feels like a shell of itself, and you kind of feel like you're like a prostitute on display cashing in for this check.
Sex worker, and I used to think that. I used to think that, but now I think you're a great example of someone who never made money the first time, so you should be able to make money the second time. I feel that feels fair to me.
Thank you. I look forward to that paycheck.
Well, I guess to that point, Chris will be your new manager moving forward, of course. But
Yeah.
to that
You want to
point,
make some money, baby? Let's talk.
Do you think that you mentioned the word a couple times on this show and in another interview that I heard you on? Do you feel like you need to be righteous, or the one person who's still righteous and holding on to the true punk ethos? Do you think you're potentially too righteous to get a check in 2025?
I do.
I appreciate that question. I think like punk is great, you know, like it helped me survive in life, but I think punk also has this like weird bullshit stigma of like these morals that like don't let you negotiate reality, you know. And so like a lot of it has to do with like I mean, I love Fugazi, but like how like they set things up, and then like here comes like Ebullition, which is what I grew up with. And like, you know, Ebullition was really weird because I had Kent McClard just shitting all over Swing Kids because we weren't like struggle. We had better haircuts, and we weren't like talking about how we actually wanted to fucking kill cops. We were just like metaphorically saying how we don't like cops or whatever. So like, and then you have like Kent McClard shitting all over us. And then all of a
I haven't
sudden,
heard
like,
the name Kent McClard in so long.
well, now he's probably cashing in on Orchid, and he's like selling fucking 20,000 copies of that record, which no offense to Orchid, I've never heard it because it kind of came after, Swing Kids and Crimson Curse, and I was just like,
you did it first, so you didn't need to
Well,
hear it.
when
that's
you mentioned
that's like the Refuse
Fugazi,
thing, like
oh yeah, or like the Refuse thing. When you mentioned Fugazi,
they're doing the
are
tour.
you talking to? Did you bring up Fugazi in the way that like every album has to cost $5, every show has to be no more than $5? We set these boundaries, and then you're like, cool, adjust for inflation, and we all lose money doing this thing that we love. Spend hours a day on.
I think that they are like sort of the Pope of of like modern or like not modern moral hardcore, and I say it in a good way because I really respect what they did. I think they there was that offer, like this probably not that much money now, but they were offered like $1 million to play Coachella or something like that, and like Ian was like, we're not fucking playing again until we play. And next time we play, it'll be for free in DC. And I was like, that is so badass to say that.
Well, as long as he doesn't play for Bernie Sanders, that's cool. I'm fine with that. As long as Fugazi doesn't play for Bernie Sanders rally, that's where I draw the line.
I wonder, like,
they've been asked, I'm sure,
to play for Bernie Sanders.
That'd be sick. I'd go to that.
I could really see somebody thinking that's a good idea.
But also they're in that position to turn $1 million down.
To say no, I'm not. Yeah.
You're not. Yeah. A lot of people who are real true punks are like, I put in the work for decades and I'm never going to get that offer. But the people whose bills are paid, who are getting a lot of money coming in every month from selling cool t-shirts and vinyl records, they're like, $1 million, I could take it, it'd be cool, but I also don't need it,
Yeah. Well, I've never had the carrot dangled. So like the Swing Kids song or the Swing Kids show that's coming up is an interesting point because it's like, we're playing this show, it's not sold out, it's a fucking festival. It's like there's just a festival as in like there's like 8 bands and you're like, okay, I'm gonna maybe walk out of here with $40, and that's fine. I want to spend time with my friends and celebrate my friend's birthday. Like he's making it to 50, like that's really honorable because he probably shouldn't have, and none of us should have, so like that's cool, I'll do that and that's fine. But like no one said like, hey, you want to do the Swing Kids reunion circuit and play all the things and get paid $500,000? Like that's not, no one's done it. And if they dangled it, I'm gonna totally be a dick here, but like I feel like there's so many angles to it. Like I want it to be like the gnarliest shit. Like if we're gonna come back, like we've been rehearsing and like I'm like, yo, we have to be fucking better than we were then because I've seen bands get back together and I'm like, this sucks. or to know, like, don't fuck around and try to write another record. Like
definitely don't do that.
Like,
definitely don't do that.
Yeah.
Look, how many fat guys are in the band?
No one.
Then you're good. That's what I'm trying to say.
Huge.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That's great.
Because that's what I'm trying to say. You're fine. Because sometimes you go see these bands. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I went and saw a band recently where the guy needed a respirator and a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this ain't doing it, bro. This is not making me. This isn't making me feel good.
I think there's a way to do it. Like my friend Nick plays for Iggy Pop now, and I think Iggy Pop is like this sort of like dinosaur of a musician, but like watching him perform and do those songs is cool because he's got a fucking stellar band surrounding him, and I think that's a cool move too. Like I just feel like, yeah, I see what you're saying. So like with Swing Kids, I'm like, we recruited a second guitar player, like we should have. It needs to sound better. It needs to be fucking sick, I
agree with you. No, that's a good attitude to have.
I feel like maybe some of those people did just like, they're just like phoning it in, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, you should sound better than you were when you were fucking 17. Like you've been playing music a lot since then, so you should be better, right?
In theory, yeah. But and I feel like I'm a better vocalist, but as we're rehearsing the songs, I'm like, why did I fucking write this shit? Like the syllables don't fit. Like this is really weird, like
it's reminding you of your flaws at a younger age.
And you can't really change it at this point. You gotta just
No, if I'm flying in to see you guys, I better hear the words I know. You know what I mean? That's the goddamn truth.
Okay, so everyone in San Diego, go see Swing Kids at the classic Che Cafe.
No, Casbah.
At the classic Casbah Theater. Get a bomb ass California burrito afterwards.
I'd love a bomb ass burrito right now. So you have a book. Your book is out now, or it's coming out soon?
Yeah, it's out. Yeah.
Okay, book is out. Where do I go? 31g.com. Where do I get the book? Okay.
THREEONEG.com. GG Alien and the Mystery Meat. It's probably I thought it'd get me canceled, but it hasn't yet. So
Okay, well, we'll be the judge of that. No,
Yeah.
That changes today, Justin. We'll signal boost it to our audience. And
Welcome
then the
to hell,
people
bro.
will cancel you.
You know how many baristas in Brooklyn listen to this podcast? They're
We'll
looking.
see you on Reddit. We'll see you on Reddit.
We'll see you later. Thanks, Justin.
Appreciate your time, Justin. Thanks
to
for
see you, bro.
talking to us.
Thank you so much.